Welcome to the latest of my deep dive videos. Today I'm going to explore Mars's journey through the charismatic Leo. It's going to go through two phases of 9 weeks each. The first begins on the 4th of November, goes through to the 6th of January. It's going to go into a retrograde on the 6th of December, which lasts for 79 days. That's going to end on the 23rd of February, but Mars will return to the sign of Leo on the 18th of April before concluding its journey through the sign on the 17th of June. So it's a big deal, 18 weeks in total. But what does Mars in Leo tell us? The retrograde in Mars happens every 2 years, but the recent journey of Mars through Cancer is where it was in its fall. And as that journey came to a close, on the 3rd of November, Mars was in an exact opposition to Pluto. And that aspect is going to be threaded into this Mars transit, because as Mars moves into Leo, it's still in a disassociate opposition with Pluto. But it's also going to go back into the opposition with Pluto on January the 3rd, but also on April the 27th. These are the two rulers of Scorpio. So they create an almighty and potentially titanic battle in the heavens. How will that play out for us all? What's the importance of the retrograde? What can we expect from Mars through Leo? What does the event chart tell us as Mars enters Leo? Because that's the seeding influence that will provide a backdrop for the whole process. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundell. I'm going to go through all of this for you. I'm then going to go through each of the 12 signs from Aries through to Pisces to give you a flavour of what you can expect in terms of Mars through Leo Part 1. If you're new to my channel, it's great to have your company. A lot of people watch my videos who are not subscribers. If that's you, please help the channel to thrive and click that subscription button now. If you're a returner visitor, all your views and interactions are truly appreciated. This is a community. If you have any thoughts, please do share them. I'm a consultant astrologer. If you'd like to have a one-to-one with me, please check out my testimonials below. What have other people found working directly with me? If you'd like to discover what 2025 would hold for you from a personal viewpoint, you can order your report for next year, get the rest of this year free, but also get your free gift of your Zodiac, love, and also Chinese forecasts for 2025, but 30% off, and also your life roadmap report. All this information is fantastic value and totally unique for the person it's produced for. You can see the link below to discover more. If you've had your life roadmap report already produced, you can choose the Draconic option and still get that 30% off. Draconic is about your soul. It's your karmic chart. Please check out that. If you are a Patreon, thank you so much for all your support. You can download a leaflet all about Mars by becoming a patron from $3 a month. Please see the link below. But thank you so much for the patrons who support me. If you want to gift me something for the effort I put into these videos, you can also use the Patreon donate button under this video. So Mars enters the sign of Leo on the 4th of November at 4:10 a.m. Universal. Now the retrograde is going to begin on the 6th of December at 6 degrees and 10 minutes. As I mentioned before, Mars goes retrograde every 2 years. But what is Mars in Leo about? If we think about it, Mars rules the third decan of the sign of Leo, so there is an affinity. Mars is about action. It rules the sign of Aries, also a fire sign. But also we must remember that Mars also rules the sign of Scorpio, or is the co-regent. There it's very much about desire and can be about gratification. Mars in Aries is a very direct, passionate influence. Can be fiery, of course, can be about anger and aggression, but most of all, I feel it's an opportunity for us to assert our need to manifest our individuality. And the sign of Leo is where we can showcase our talents, our flair, our abilities, but also to enjoy life. And of course, we're coming into the festive season. Why not use Mars's sunny energy in order to light up our situations? But because that first phase of Mars in Leo is occupying the first decan of the sign of Leo, that amplifies the sun sub-rulership of the sign of Leo. So Mars in Leo can give us extra self-assurance and confidence. People who have it in their natal charts, and do recall it depends on what house it's in, and also what other influences are applying to it. You could have Mars in the first house in Leo, but it could be in a conjunction with Saturn. That would have a very different experience from Mars in the first house in a really positive link with Jupiter, for example. But Mars in Leo people do have an enterprising spirit. They can be leaders and take the initiative, which of course is a very Aries energy. But it's important to understand that the sign of Leo and the ego potential of Mars can make people very prideful with Mars in Leo, and the desire to kind of dominate situations. A lot of people who are actors, musicians, performers, artists will have Mars in Leo because the need for the limelight is very strong indeed. Also, because it's a fixed sign Leo, Mars here can be perhaps a little bit unbending, particularly about its point of view, and particularly because of that opposition with Pluto. But I'll go into the aspects shortly. But the Leonian energy can be about achieving attention. Mars in Leo wants recognition. It wants to be at the heart of things, and it will use a lot of persuasion and charm and personality power in order to influence situations. So Mars in Leo is a stunning influence for sure, but what about the retrograde? Well, I feel the retrograde tells us that if we're caught up with ego to the point that we're finding it difficult to listen to anyone else's situation or be mindful of people's needs, that becomes more complex. And of course it depends on where this Mars transit will play out in your natal chart. So that's really, really important to understand that. Now, in terms of the event chart, let's have a look at that from a natal perspective and based on Greenwich. Now, that's not because I'm based in the United Kingdom, it's because of the prime meridian. And the interesting thing is the ascendant is in the very diplomatic sign of Libra, which is very much about tuning into people. But look at that position of Mars. It's in the 10th house. Now, we take all that Leonian energy with the thrust that comes from the Mars influence of Aries, put it in the 10th house. That need for acclaim and attention gets ratcheted up to an even greater intensity. So a huge desire for attention in a way. So if you are someone who's a creative, or you are someone who's got talents that you do want to showcase to a wider audience, and that 0-degree position impacts on your natal chart particularly, I feel that you can glow up in a massive way, particularly before the retrograde begins on the 6th of December. But what about the other players? And of course I mentioned about Pluto. The opposition between Pluto and Mars, which peaks on the 3rd of November, is really challenging. Because if we think about it, Mars wants to take action quickly. Pluto can be about leverage, coercion, control. It can be about domination. It can be about hidden power, and it can be about using power in an unjust way. The other more positive dimension of Mars opposite Pluto is if we use power and thrust for the right reasons, it can help people. If we use it for more sinister reasons to just get what we want from situations, that can cause a problem. So the 3rd of January and April the 27th next year, the chances of more warlike stances being demonstrated in the world are going to be increased, because once Pluto moves back to Aquarius, both Mars and Pluto are fixed, and that can be very resistant, and that need to be right and to get one's way. Also, I should tell you that the People's Republic of China's natal chart, progress chart, really echoes very strongly with the opposition between Mars and Pluto once Pluto moves into Aquarius. So I think the 3rd of January and April the 27th next year are going to be very interesting for international affairs. You know, we've seen a lot of explosive energy in the world. Mars was square Pluto when it all kicked off in the Gaza-Israeli situation. Really tragically, of course. And, you know, obviously the ongoing situation in the Ukraine is very, very tenuous, and how the US election plays out can have a massive impact on that situation. But we've got the North Korean thing feeding in with troops on the ground, even though they've put obviously an awful lot of weapons in there. The Iranian situation. The world's a very complex place, let's be honest. But also, as Mars makes its way into Leo, it does forge a delicious link to Mercury. And that is great, because despite Mercury being technically detrimented in Sagittarius, that creates enthusiasm, it creates inspiration. If we do have an idea that we want to convey, we can do so with passion and verve. So why not? That's absolutely terrific. And that's pretty close planetary trine. It's 1 degree in 54. And if we have got ideas that we're wanting to express, the agility of Mercury in the outgoing sign of Sagittarius can really give us a lot of desire to be enthusiastic and to thrive on any mental stimulations and challenges. So that's really very exciting indeed. Now let's just have a look at the solar perspective. Here they flip. We have Mars in 5th house, as we expect. Pluto goes 10, very much coming to the end of its journey that began in 2008 in the sign of Capricorn, the sign of physical combination. And I feel that one of the things that can happen, and we can really reflect it more from the solar chart in an easier way to explain, I feel, is that if we think that Mars in Leo is about I, once Pluto moves into Aquarius, that's much more about we. Now we know that Pluto can be a very constructive influence in terms, if we go with it, it can help us to transform our lives. We can rebuild, reconstruct, even after huge destruction and very challenging situations. But Pluto in Aquarius does give us the chance to come together more collectively, raise the profile of astrology, which I feel is ruled by Aquarius, because Aquarius energy is about the higher view, which comes from Uranus, which is the ruler of the sky in mythology, and it is also about being a bit more futuristic whilst maintaining the best of the more traditional things, which comes from Saturn, which is the ruler of time. So I feel Pluto moving into Aquarius could be that there is going to be a collective that pushes back against some of the ego that has been generated by certain organisations, but also certain individuals. So that's going to be fascinating through this process too. Now I'm going to go through each of the 12 zodiac signs to give you a flavour of what you can expect through this Leo transit part 1, because as I mentioned, it is going to be rewinding back into the sign of Cancer on January the 6th. So it's only getting up to the 6 degrees, then it goes all the way back to 29:59 in Cancer. And then it's in Cancer through to April the 18th. And then we have the second 9-week period of Leo being the host, which starts from the 18th of April through to the 17th of June. Then just to tell you, on August the 7th, as Mars makes its way into Libra, it arcs back to Uranus, just nibbling into Gemini, but also back to Pluto. So we get an amazing grand trine cresting as we get to the end of the summer months next year. But that process, or the process we're about to go through with Mars in Leo, it's all about, I feel, helping us to set free our talents and our abilities in a very animated, charismatic, personality-led way. But we mustn't get too caught up with our egos. We need to make sure that we don't take ourselves too seriously, but at the same time understand that it is important with Pluto in that opposition 3 times when this event begins, but also twice through it, that we're very, very seriously aware of just how complex that can be. So Aries, it's hard to pursue that this could be a huge opportunity for you, your sign in particular, because of the natural affinity between your fire elements, but also because of the mutuality between the rulership. So Mars being your ruler, and of course the ruler of the 3rd decan of Leo, which doesn't happen until part 2 of this journey. But in part 1, for sure, if you feel that you've been a bit muted recently with all that scorpionic energy, and Mars since September the 6th being in your 4th house, you may have felt very sensitive, maybe a bit more orientated towards cracking on with home repair and renovational jobs with Mars in the 4th. There may have been some family politics. Your moods could have been a little bit more up and down, but certainly through to December the 6th, you get a great chance to be much more playful, social, interactive. Why not enjoy it? It's great. It's just that if you did meet someone romantically and it was hot, just be aware that when the retrograde begins, you're going to be asked some questions. And then when Mars inverts back into Cancer from the 6th to the 18th of April, then that's going to be a time when you need to be more in touch with your motives, how things feel. So it is a giant step forwards for Aries, but it's one that may see you just looking at your footprints and maybe stepping back a little bit and thinking, oh, I'm not quite sure about this. So there could be something exciting brewing, but you need to make sure that the emotional dimension of it for you is really thought through, particularly if it's around your professional situation, because if you have gone through a big change with Pluto being in Capricorn, and especially since the 2nd of September and through the retrograde, and you're wanting to try something different, it may be that you can use your more daring, go-getting energies very well for the next month, but you also need to be conscious of what your plan B would be if that doesn't quite work out for you. And in your social and also romantic situation, still stay mindful that you have Saturn in the water sign of Pisces, asking you to stay in touch with how things feel. And when Mars returns back to Cancer, initially through the retrograde, you just need to stay in touch with those feelings. You can get your free Zodiac, Love and Chinese forecast for 2025 when you order your year 2025 personal forecast, and also get the rest of this shit free. Please see below for more. So Taurus, Mars moving into Leo certainly can make you much more aware of your need to get what you want in terms of your home and emotional life. And through to the 6th of January next year, if you feel that, for example, if you share your home and you feel that the people you live with, doesn't matter who with, whether it's family, friends, flatmates or whatever, are not quite as mindful of your boundaries, that's something you're going to firm up. Then again, if you're living in accommodation that doesn't work for you, the thrust of Mars can give you a big push to try and find something that suits your needs much more appropriately. But we need to be aware that because Mars in Leo does strengthen the ego need, but the 4th house can be very prickly, maybe a bit sensitive and reactive, something could trigger you from the 6th of December to the 6th of January where you feel someone's not quite respecting you as much as they could, just be aware that you may be a little more tender than is normally the case. But if your love life, for example, is lacking that emotional dimension that's important to you, Mars is going to give you a lot more desire to say it as it is and ask for what you need. Why not? If so, Taurus. You can get your free Zodiac, Love and Chinese forecast for 2025 when you order your year 2025 personal forecast, and also get the rest of this shit free. Please see below for more. Moving into Leo is terrific for you because the third house is an echo of the energy of your sign. You have Jupiter in your sign, of course, which in itself is in a retrograde, but can certainly still give you the opportunity to be enthusiastic and upbeat and hopeful. Mars moving into Leo helps you to power across your message with even greater conviction and certainty. And the link to your ruler Mercury in a trine in your sector of relating means that you can punch through. So a mixture of your determination, your conviction, but also the clarity of your message is something that could be extremely effective. If there is somebody that you really like and it does require that step of extra confidence to make that first move, certainly Mars linking to Mercury can really be an asset to you, I feel. If you are wanting to use an app in order to up the activity in your romantic situation, I feel that you can have a little bit more Dutch courage initially, for sure. But just be aware that Mars does have that pride issue in Leo. If you're too attached to your beliefs, too attached to your view that only your belief counts, then that could be complex, particularly when Mars goes into the retrograde from the 6th of December through to the 6th of January. But the other thing that you might think of is you could find yourself wanting to be a little bit more physically active. You know, whether you take the dog out for a walk and run for 100 yards between a couple of lampposts, or you do something a bit more serious. Perhaps you're already someone who's quite active. There could be some ways that you can up your output, get your heart rate going a little bit more, get that cardio moving. But Mars in the third house could also give you the desire, Mars, for a new mode of transport, whether it is a bike, a vehicle, something that gives you an ability to move around quicker and more confidently. That could be another factor. Now, of course, the third house can be our interactions with neighbours, siblings, people in our everyday world. If you are someone who's involved in technology, your passion and enthusiasm can be infectious, particularly through to the 6th of December. You can get your free Zodiac, Love and Chinese forecast for 2025 when you order your year 2025 personal forecast, and also get the rest of this shit free. Please see below for more. So Cancer, Mars is moving out of your sign, but it's only a temporary vacation. He's back on the 6th of January through to the 18th of April. Mars in your sign is complex, but it still has talents, because it's been reminding you since the 6th of September that as much as you can, be very aware of the needs of other people. You can be very nurturing, protective. At times, you do need to go for what's right for you. And I feel the opposition with Pluto may have made you a little bit stronger about a demarcation line, making sure your boundaries are marked out more cleanly. But Mars moving into the second house can give you an appreciation of the good things in life. And if you are someone who wants to be generous to people in the run-up to Christmas, you can afford to do so, then that's going to generate a lot of enthusiasm within you. If you're someone who loves home cooking, as Cancers can, then that too could be something that you could be invested in. If your financial situation isn't quite as peachy as you would like at the moment, your determination to change that can be incredible. And that desire is going to go on for much of next year, because remember, you have the opposition between Mars and Pluto. 2nd, 8th houses, everyday money against longer term finance. 3rd of January, but also April the 27th, another key point when you're going to want to punch through and really improve your lot in a very, very focused way. So your willpower, around improving your lot around finances can be very strong. The other thing, however, is that if you're attracted to someone, you could be tempted to get caught up a little bit in what they earn, what they do, the more status side and material side of values. But the second house is also about how we value ourselves. Mars can be about our identity through its rulership of the ascendant. So why not feel better about yourself, Cancer, particularly through to the 6th of December. But if you do find yourself enjoying the festivities a little bit too much, once that retrograde kicks in, you might want to be a little bit more mindful about what you're eating and drinking as you make merry. You can get your free Zodiac, Love and Chinese forecast for 2025 when you order your year 2025 personal forecast, and also get the rest of this shit free. Please see below for more. So Leo, Mars moving into this part of your situation is fantastic. This helps you to get in touch with those natural resources in terms of your personality power, which I feel has been not muted as such, but just been redirected in a more supportive way to other people through the overall journey of Pluto through Capricorn. So for the last 16, 17 years, there's been a lot of sacrifices you've made. And you are at your best when you have the confidence to step into what makes you unique. You do like to be respected as a minimum, certainly admired and adored. Well, that's when you're really cooking on the proverbial gas. And this gives you an opportunity, particularly through to the 6th of December, to draw in all that attention. If you are wanting to bring a new spark to your life, creatively, romantically, socially, really getting the green light here. Also, the link to Mercury in your 5th house is very playful, mischievous. Your sense of humour is going to come back and really be on top form. You're going to sparkle, enjoy all that you're drawing to you. But if you are set to start something new, which can happen with Mars in the 1st house, just be aware that once the retrograde begins, there could be a step forwards, maybe a little bit of a pause, a reconsideration. Mars goes back into Cancer, but Mars in Cancer does suggest that there may still be some roots of past dramas, upsets and misfortunes even, that you still need to rinse yourself free of. And you get the opportunity to do that from the 6th of January through to the 18th of April next year. But once you do liberate yourself from that stuff, and Mars comes back into your sign from the 18th of April through to the 17th of June, you're going to just absolutely buzz forwards, particularly with Saturn and Neptune going into your 9th house and Uranus going into your 11th house. There's a lot of exciting energy for you next year for sure. You can get your free Zodiac, Love and Chinese forecast for 2025 when you order your year 2025 personal forecast, and also get the rest of this shit free. Please see below for more. Virgo Mars for you moves into house 12. This can be a bit tricky, to be honest. Of course, there are astrologers that will tell you that Mars in the 12th house will be amazing to give you the extra passion to invest in healing. Absolutely right. But Mars in the 12th house is a very complex influence, because the 12th house is our subconscious. Mars can be about anger. Some things that we thought that we dealt with, looked at, spoken of, mourned over, released, can have an incredible habit with Mars in the 12th house of starting to stir right in the depths of our being. I personally believe emotions are locked into our bodies, gestalt. And it's amazing how Mars in the 12th house can suddenly see us crying, the next minute raging, and you need to feel that it's okay to release anger. I feel we have a modern society that kind of wants to welcome people's feelings, but then doesn't want to really look at the evidence of it. It's too unpleasant. Let's just sweep it away. if you can own some past stuff, look at it again squarely in the eye, it could be a very cathartic thing to do. In a more constructive way, Mars moving into the 12th house could see you reconnected to people from your past, particularly very assertive, commanding type presences, perhaps who you've known through your work. So Mars in the 12th house here might not necessarily be entirely easy, but it's a huge opportunity for you, Virgo. You can get your free Zodiac, Love and Chinese forecast for 2025 when you order your year 2025 personal forecast, and also get the rest of this shit free. Please see below for more. So Libra, Mars moving into your 11th house is delish, because Mars does like to dominate a little bit. It likes that attention in Leo. But the great thing about Mars in the 11th house is it also can help us to give other people to celebrate their individuality as well. So it's a kind of mutual collaboration. Everyone gets the chance to be who they need to be. And yes, it's lovely if we get that ray of attention upon us, but it's a bit more democratic. Also, if you are someone who wants to rejuvenate your social situation, maybe fine-tune your long-term plans in some ways. If you do still want to make it to the summit of success goal-wise, in terms of the recent transit through Cancer, it's going to be your people skills, your networking talent, a case of who as much as what you know, that's going to be important. But you have a great chance to really get your social life up in its intensity, and you're going to have a lot of text messages whizzing backwards and forwards with Mercury in your 3rd house linking to this Mars position. Now Mars of course is just a tad from being exactly opposite Pluto. Pluto has been such a mischief maker, but remember Pluto is moving on the 19th of November into Aquarius for the long term, 3rd of January next year and the 27th of April. The key moments for you to get that balance between what you want as an individual and how you can connect and collaborate to others. That tip point, just so next year looks really exciting for you. You can get your free Zodiac, Love and Chinese forecast for 2025 when you order your year 2025 personal forecast, and also get the rest of this shit free. Please see below for more. So Scorpio, for you there's a mutual receptivity because obviously Mars is your traditional ruler. Mars moving into your 10th house gives you a push to be more self-assured and self-confident about your professional situation, or if you interact with people locally in your community, voluntary activities, anywhere where you want to provide a lead. Could be that your focus isn't professional, it may be more about hobbies, interests, grandchildren. Wherever you feel that you want to put the most amount of effort in, Mars will give you a lot of extra gravitas, and that's brilliant. But we can't change the fact that your other ruler, Pluto, is in an opposition. And by the 3rd of January next year, the opposition is between Mars in Leo and Pluto in Aquarius, like you, fixed. So that's a big shift. So getting that right balance between what you need in terms of your emotional development and how you link with the wider world is going to be very important. If you are someone who wants to renovate a property, buy somewhere, you want to add to your family, you're entering an extremely powerful time for you, and a very thrilling one too. You can get your free Zodiac, Love and Chinese forecast for 2025 when you order your year 2025 personal forecast, and also get the rest of this shit free. Please see below for more. Sagittarius, Mars moving into this area really chimes with you, particularly as Mercury is just pitched up in your sign. You have Jupiter with you, and on this event we also have the moon in Sagittarius too. So a lot of enthusiasm coming in, but Mars in the 9th house brings out that more adventurous, buccaneering part of your nature. If you have felt you've been caught up with some pretty heavy stuff with Saturn in the 4th house, more recently with the Scorpio new moon, it's all very, very heavy. You could be in the mood to just be much more liberated and tune into that old version of yourself that you had before Saturn moved into the fourth house from March 23 and Uranus started being a bit of a wrecking ball around your life structure from March 2019. You're going to just really feel a lot of extra vibrancy coming in, but especially once Pluto moves into your third house. But on this event, if there's a holiday or a trip or something daring and galvanizing you want to do, go for it, especially between now and December the 6th before the retrograde begins. You can get your free Zodiac, Love and Chinese forecast for 2025 when you order your year 2025 personal forecast, and also get the rest of this shit free. Please see below for more. So Capricorn, Mars has moved out of your 7th house of relating, where you've been setting boundaries, into the 8th house of deep devotion, maybe deep sexual connection. But you know, the 8th house has a polarity. It can be all in or it can be all out. Mars in the 8th house could, if there is someone you really like, give you that extra slice of self-belief to make that move to try and get closer to them. But you may be a little bit tentative about it because the 8th house can be more psychological. It's not so much out there and up there. But then again, if you want to improve your financial situation, certainly through to the 6th of January next year, and then again from the 18th of April to the 17th of June, if you are someone who's interested in business, investment, you're more entrepreneurial, Mars will give you tremendous desire. But if you're in a bit of a maybe a relationship which lacks a bit of passion, this is your opportunity to re-inject that into the situation, but you may need to take the lead. You can get your free Zodiac, Love and Chinese forecast for 2025 when you order your year 2025 personal forecast, and also get the rest of this shit free. Please see below for more. So Aquarius, Mars moving onto your 7th house is interesting. Mars in the 7th house on a relationship chart can make people pretty unyielding when it comes to interactions. Much better to have Venus or Moon in the 7th house. But then again, with Mars in the 7th house, you can know, depending on other factors in each individual chart, where one stands with the other party, and that can be good. But I think for you, because Pluto has really been depleting quite a lot of confidence off and on since 2008, Mars here, particularly with Mercury just cresting on your 11th house of friendship and sociability, can give you much more desire to meet challenges. So that could be get in touch with that potential client, apply for that job. If you enjoy some kind of sport which requires a direct opponent, tennis, squash, badminton, that type of thing could really appeal to you. But if it's your love life, if you're single and you want to bring that special person into your life, this certainly is going to give you a lot more self-belief and get-go for sure. It's just in an existing relationship, be aware of perhaps a tendency not to want to compromise a little bit or want to get one's own way. You can get your free Zodiac, Love and Chinese forecast for 2025 when you order your year 2025 personal forecast, and also get the rest of this shit free. Please see below for more. So Pisces, Mars moving into your 6th house, terrific, because this gives you a lot of stamina. And Mars going through the 5th house has potentially been quite playful and sociable. Maybe some good things have happened in that regard. The 6th house is good if you want to get certain parts of your life working in a more ordered fashion. You want to apply for a job. You want to be a bit more virtuous about what you're eating and drinking, the amount of exercise you get. When Mars goes into the 6th house, maybe you can make some refinements to the initial phase that you put in motion. But if you do feel that you're in a role at the moment that doesn't give you much personal satisfaction, Mars can give you a lot more determination to change that over not just this initial 9 weeks transit, but also through the 9 weeks from the 18th of April next year. Thanks so much for joining me. It's been a pleasure being with you. If you want to check out your year 2025 deep dive videos, please click on the link beneath this video. Have a great Mars in Leo experience.